It's such a great honor to start this practice, this nourishing practice of honoring the artists in all the various mediums in our Canadian, not just in our local communities. So I'm glad that it is a success and that it can be a nourishing practice year after year for years to come. All right, so Fazia's introduced me. I'm just gonna, it's quite a long set of introductions for hosts, so I'm not gonna do any extra talking. I'm just gonna get straight to it. I'm gonna call our guest of honor, Joanne Arnott, great poet, author. She's our advisor as well. And I'd like to present her with a little notebook before she starts. Oh, they were organizing the mix now. Ah, there's one. Joanne. Thank you so much. Joanne, go on over there, because that's where the mic is too. Okay. But I'm going to invite you, Joanne, to give out the 6 awards for Joy Kogawa Award in the field of fiction. So I'll hand them to you as I call them out. All right. Ooh, and sorry about any of my pronunciations, but first we'll begin with the honorable mentions in fiction. K.R. Bigden from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Ooh. Oh, no, those are the long listed. Hold on, this needs to get there. And thanks to Michael for hooking up this lovely budget to do these awards. So this is for honorable mention K.R. Bigden, and then we have honorable mention for Lucy E. Black. We'll just...
These people are
not here.
Not here. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Lucy E. Black is from Port Perry, Ontario. Samantha Crilo. Thank you. Yes. Samantha's from Surrey. Is she here, maybe? No. Okay. And then we'll start with the 3rd place winner, which is in Slate. So we have Melissa, you're Ines, 3rd place winner. Woohoo! And then I wonder if Cynthia Sharp is here. We got Cynthia Sharp for 2nd place winner. Woohoo!
Is that you? Hi. Congratulations.
I'll just give the bad one, but the good one is under in the box. They got a little mixed up. But this is 1st place winner, Lynn Hutchinson Lee. And is Lynn here?
Toronto.
Yes, from Toronto, Ontario. Excellent. Okay, we're done with the fiction section. Lynn Hutchinson Lee is a multimedia writer and artist based in Toronto. She is a co-founder of and member of Red Tree Collective, I already read this, and Chirikli Collective, a Romani women's arts collective based in Toronto and Sarajevo. Her writings are anthologized in numerous publications, which we read earlier. And her spoken word piece, 5 Songs for Daddy, was exhibited in Chirikli Collective's sound installation, Canada Without Shadows, at the Roma Pavilion. Please welcome Lynn Hutchinson Lee. Lynn, can you hear us? Oh, speakers are muted. 1 second, Lynn.
We're coming.
You might have to, I muted the computer itself.
So, see, I knew there was something for sure on here.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
By the way, Lynn, welcome. Can you see us, by the way?
I can't see anybody or anything.
Okay.
The camera is off.
Yes, so we're all, I don't know if you can see me.
Well, that's what,
Wait.
We can see you.
yeah, we can see you, you're perfect.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Surrey Muse Art Society. It's good to finally connect with you and to be with all of you. And
That's okay, we'll just leave it there.
yeah, and I want to thank you, Judge Kathleen Wyth and the jurors, Hannah McCree and Fawzia Rafiq. And it is a great honor to receive the 2022 Joy Kogawa Award for Literature. I just wanted to say briefly that Nightshade is the story of a small family of Romani women who are migrant workers in the Southern Ontario tobacco field. It's their story, and it's also the story of their puppets and the story of their often difficult and fraught relationship with the outside world. It's inspired in part by my father's family, who were migrant workers in the Tobacco Belt, Ontario, and who traveled with their hand-built puppets, putting on shows and around the region. And I have one of my puppets here today, the final one. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Can you, there she is. She's the grandmother puppet, the Moody died. She's 100 years old. She is the inspiration for this novel and its heart, and she's also a main character. So now I am going to read Nightshade, Part 1, Hooks. Puri Dai, the grandmother speaks. A warning, the shadow in a field, she says, a shadow waiting. It can be a Kashmikali Radi, a beautiful black night that holds all the loveliness and dangers that could ever come to. It can be a black hole, an overturned bowl of night, hidden behind a couple of stars. It can be a full moon. It can be a soft, defiled voice, a puppety, come. It can be the mother voice, watch out for them Joes. They'll get their hooks into you before you know it. The warning is picked up, her dark voice and unschooling air. The warnings are seated all around us, as the 100,000 tobacco plants are seated in the ground. What always stayed with me in the years since I was a girl, a little shay of 10, was the apple picker north of Thorold, Buddy Watson, who had gotten out of jail for the third time and went home with love tattooed across the fingers of one hand and hate across the other. Love-hate became the first of two road signs in my path. The drum led me from there then to here now. The second of my signs, further along, said, you are now entering invisible, the transparent, movable territory I carried with me as the snail carries its shell. Not only did I live inside the visible, but I was a geographer as well, moving with my family from town to town and farm to farm across the continent. If I stood in front of trees, see the tree. If I was in a parking lot, a bus station, or in front of a supermarket, you'd see those things and not know it's there. Or if I stood in a certain light, you did have to see me, and asked who I was, I would say, I don't know, or I don't know. If you then ask, what's this love-hate thing? I'd say, sometimes I don't know what or who to love, or do I love and hate at the same time? And should I ask Buddy Watson what these words mean? And life lived under the stress of the invisible. I could have got up from them and what little I knew of the earthly life in England. When she'd see people coming along the road, nudging each other and saying, look out, here comes a gypsy. And she'd make herself small as an acorn. Moody Dai, my mother, my small dark rodent invisible. In this morning of unbearable heat, shifting from one foot to the other in the hiring shed at Mr. Clementine's tobacco farm, I was not to know the answers to my questions about love and hate, and you are now entering invisible, would unfold in the coming weeks, even though I felt a vague sense of floating in the air. Maybe I was listening too much to Joanne going on about the devil man who moves with human feet through the tobacco fields at night. And as I looked out over the rich, acid green fields, I thought, that's one of them old stories meant to keep us on our toes. And only Puri Duck and the old ones, the Puri folky, still hang on to that. This was what was going through my mind as I stood waiting at the door of the hiring shed. Memram Cook and Mr. Thomas owned, their eyes pinched and filled, heads angled back, arms folded over their cheeks, stood and stepped at me, and naked figure. Ma'am noted, my auntie's puppet. Ready for picking, was all Ma'am Cook said. Mr. Torp's head buckled down and slowed. He turned his face from me to his tobacco fields, gesturing with his hand as if tobacco fields had never been seen before and had suddenly appeared in this part of the world. His other fist by his side went open and shut, open and shut. We're here for the work, said Ma'am, as if he needed to be thinking. She kept her voice small and her eyes down, like she always did with the poor Joes. Would they have found out who we are, even before we drove into town? If they knew, would they take a chance on that? Would we be accused when a tobacco knife or calf or hen went missing? Since we were from here and not from away and spoke English, and because we'd come in our own truck with our own things, they couldn't treat us like the other migrants. We had a few more, which wasn't saying. My Auntie Lily knew all this. She was on top of things. We stood trapped in that moment of sizing up, judging. Not that we didn't do our own sizing up. It was a survival thing. Memram Cook's smile was comfortably cruel. I couldn't read Mr. Cleave. He was good looking in a soothing way. My aunties would call him too handsome. We had a cake dark, even though blonde. Memram Cook was also blonde and a darker pink. Their sleeves were up above the elbow, the hair of their arms white, the muscles looking hard and impatient under the skin. I kept looking at Clementine's right hand tighten and release, like he was stepping on and off the brakes. What brakes, I wondered. It was a fist acting on its own. Everything in Mr. Clementine funneled into that fist. It's going to be hot up there, he warned. Hotter than usual, said Manuel. You don't look like you've laughed, said Mr. Clementine. They seem to be thinking of reasons to get rid of us. They must have heard them. Look out for them, gypsies. Word had a way of getting round, even though we tried to hide it. I thought it could be almost a relief, having it out in the open, like a toothache bleeding into an abscess, because then you could be ready for whatever was coming. You're out in the open with a place to hide, and if you can't hide inside your own skin, where do you hide exactly? There is no refuge, no sanctuary. I lost 12 minutes of my day, Mr. Tormentine was saying. That's how hot it gets. He looked over at me again. Brooke's not under 14, is she? 18, said Ma'am in her small voice. Speak up, went Mr. Tormentine. Can't hear. Lily reared up. She practically stared. 18, for heaven's sake. Memram Cook lit a cigarette. Looks younger, he said. He gave one to Mr. Tormentine. We got a check. He held out the pack to Ma'am and my aunties. We don't smoke, said he. Ma'am stood and waited. We all did. That's the thing about our folky, our people. We can wait. I could see the wheel in Ma'am's head, the complicated calculation of tobacco life to bring us closer to flashing neon inside her head, the bright outlines of her dreams, land, Small house, garden, trees. What a shrunken tree. I bet Mr. Smith might have a big enough for 5 families. That's the house here. Listen here, said Lippers. Ma'am, not liking that. Listen here. We're good for, we just asked them farmers down in Aylmer. We work like men, said Liza. Better, went Lily. We work like women. Okay, I'll try you out for 2 days, Mr. Tormund said, boy. I'll put you all out climbing in the field because, like I said, we're short, and the men have been dropping like flies. Then in a couple of days, you 2 ladies, nodding at Liza May and Mecca, are at the sewing table. I don't want no trouble in the field, said Mr. Tormund. No monkey business. No, said Ma'am, no trouble. The women aren't the problem, Lily said between her teeth. Shh, went Liza May, also between her teeth. Memram looked up from a list. I'm putting you girls in our executive suite, he said. Now came Manuel. My guess is you're a family because you all look the same, except for your green eyes over here. He tilted his chin to me. Mr. Tormenton didn't smile. Nothing moved except that hip. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I'm trying to get the video so you can see us, but you can hear us.
I can hear.
I wonder, should we just start with the discussion first?
Sure. Oh.
Thank you. Anyone want to start? Oh, and yes, Fazia.
Lynn, you mentioned that this is a piece that is from a larger work. So, is this the first chapter, or is this the middle of the novel, or where is it placed? This particular story?
This is the very beginning of the novel. Yeah, it's the very beginning.
And then can you tell us a bit more or show a bit, do you have other puppets there too? Right?
No.
Aw.
He's the final one. There was another one when I was a child, but he fell apart. And this one, actually, when we were clearing out my dad's house, I found her wrapped in a sheet in the attic. And so I brought her down. My kids played with her until one of her eyes fell out, her hands fell off. And I've tried to put her back together again. She's pretty fragile. So yeah, it's only the one puppet. They travel around southern Ontario, putting on shows for the wealthy tobacco farmers. And that's one way that people are living, aside from picking tobacco.
Anyone else? No? Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay,
Thank you so much. I thought, the camera's not on. I was going to show you the award, but we're going to mail it to you.
Oh, thank you. I'll look forward to getting it.
Excellent.
Here at the Surrey Muse Society here, Norval would be in tears that we're here today, that this was named after him, because here we sit on unceded land of an Indigenous culture, learning about a man from an Ojibwe culture and his artwork to a wide range of cultures and ethnicities that I see in front of me. This would be his accumulation of his vision that he had at 19 years old. So he would be just overjoyed that we're here, that a man who was born in the bush is being honored across the country. So we want to thank you all for naming and after him, that's for sure. The last thing I'll say about it is that in 1998, we saw our first fake Norval Morrisseau painting. And we walked into a gallery, and I was pushing Norv in a wheelchair, and we saw the fake painting, and the gallery owner came out and said, "Oh, you love this painting?" And Norval says, "Yeah, I wonder who painted it." And she says, "Oh, it's a Norval Morrisseau." And he said, "Oh, really?" And so we had a laugh, and then we left, and I asked Norv, "What do you want to do about it?" And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it, Guy. You can't control the earth, right?" And then we found 5, then we found 10, then we found 100. And now we're up to 5,000 fake paintings of Norval Morrisseau paintings. And so for 20 years, our calls to the government, to the powers that be, have been completely ignored. And so finally in 2019, after 3 failed legal attempts and 3 investigations that were just mysteriously dropped by the RCMP, we produced a documentary called There Are No Fakes, and that outlined all of our evidence that we had gathered that a fraud ring committed by a serial rapist of Indigenous children was producing these fake paintings, and that they were being completely ignored for the last 20 years, and which decimated Norval's kind of legacy, and really harmed us in numerous financial and emotional ways. And so from that documentary, finally, I would say shame enough was put on the powers that be that they finally did something about it. And so we've been working with the FBI, the OPP, the RCMP, and we're very close now to having some positive conclusion of this. But all those powers that be have indicated that we are in the actual largest art fraud case in human history at the current moment. So about 20, if you looked and you found a Morrisseau, I would say probably 20 to 1 it's a fake, that there's 20 fakes to 1 real one. Every single print that you see out there is a fake print. Every single thing that you see basically almost online is fake. And then so a couple of years ago, when Norval passed away, his estate got broken up into 8 separate pieces with all of his children. And these children, through their lack of ability to handle this issue, we ramped up our intensity nature of it. And I'm very happy to say that just last week, we finally got our incorporation papers. So what that meant is that I had to go around to all these different areas around the world, because 3 of them live in remote access areas, fly-in only. 2 are unfortunately living on the street, people around the world. So we finally, through love and healing and positive energies like this institution here, we got everybody on the same page. Because before that, when we tried to do something, we couldn't, because you needed all 8 people. And how was I to find somebody who was living on the street in Toronto? How was I to find someone? We're ready to go? Yeah. All right. So to wrap it up, okay, well, I'm ready then. Thank you.
I'd like to give you your notebook,
Oh.
and then you can help us introduce the winners in
Sure.
visual art.
Thank you. So I guess to finish with that terrible story, we finally, after 2 years of love and healing, got our corporation papers, and now we're a fully functioning business. So that being said, I look forward to in the next year helping you guys even more, because before that, we couldn't do anything logistically. So I just want to thank you guys again very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Corey, for speaking and stay with us.
Yeah.
Stay with us. So I'll introduce the winners, and you could show them to them. So Tamar Heithayan from Vancouver, BC, are they here? Honorable mention in visual arts.
I have books as well. I brought some books to give up.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
So we put this, it's this one that just read out.
We got
Yes.
an honorable mention.
Tamar.
Tamar. Very nice.
And then we have Elise Longair from Kingston, Ontario, honorable mention.
Yay.
And then we have Henrietta Hall from Ottawa, Ontario, honorable mention.
Lovely.
And a beautiful book.
Lovely. This book is from 1992, actually.
And it looked gorgeous.
Yeah.
What a treat.
Yeah.
And then I'm honored to present the third place winner, Omo Kanye Editon.
Wow.
I hope I pronounced that right.
Very nice.
And then we have Kenzie Housego,
Wow.
second place winner.
Lovely.
And Sena Cleave, first place winner in the house.
Hey.
It's so nice when someone's in the house.
Hey.
We got the hardcover.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And Sena's going to present in a moment.
Can we
I'm
get a
very
picture
excited.
of me and her so I can, you don't mind
Yes.
me posting it on our things? Thank you. Yeah, am I done?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Corey.
Thank you for listening to me, everybody.
So as I mentioned, featured artist Sena is going to present, but I'm going to introduce her. And a stunning photo of you, Sena, on here. Sena Cleave is an artist living and working on the unceded lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh peoples of Vancouver, Canada. They explored the ways images and texts fabricate ideas of femininity, language, and originality or authorship. Their practice involves weaving, video, and photographic image making, as well as quoting and recombining found text. By bringing together materials found in research and in everyday life, Sena points out to the slippage that occurs when an idea is translated between mediums, languages, or cultural and historical contexts. The found materials become recontextualized among one another, and together they generate something that resembles a whole, one that is jumbled and misbehaving. Sena is completing their BFA at Simon Fraser University with a major in visual art and a minor in creative writing. Recent presentations of their work include Monica Ray's Gallery, Massey Art Society, James Black Gallery, SFU Galleries, our Ordained Gallery, and Center A. Please welcome Sena. Yes, you certainly can. And would you like to, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I have a USB key. I just have my. I'm just going to mute the computer. I'm stating it out loud so that we know we can unmute it later on. Thank you for having me here. I'm really honored to be the recipient of the Norval Morrisseau Award. So my name's Sena Cleave. I'm a visual artist living and working on the unceded lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, or what is colonially known as Vancouver. I grew up. Oh, should I stand up? Yeah, I can do that.
If you have room.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I'll just have
please.
to move back and forth between slides, but
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
cool doing that.
way the people there.
Okay. My head. Okay. Okay, so I grew up on Snuneymuxw and Snuneymuxw lands on Vancouver Island, as well as in Aotani, which is in Osaka, Japan. I'm a settler of Japanese and British descent, and a lot of my work looks into the ways that images and texts fabricate ideas about race and gender. Okay. That shouldn't be what's up, actually. Maybe we didn't start on the first slide. That's okay. This is cool. Was that what was up there before? Yeah, okay. That's fine. We can keep that up for now. Yeah, so this is a work titled A Supplement at Once Inevitable and Delightful. It is a series of weavings made of paper that I showed as part of the Visual Arts graduating exhibition at SFU this April. Each weaving contains a mix of text and images taken from a variety of sources. So I print the images and text off quite large, and then I cut them into strips and weave them back into one body. The idea was to explore the relationships between appropriation and femininity. Yeah, the weavings are kind of like portraits, and I use pictures of my own face as well as archival magazine ads from the Japanese beauty company Shiseido. Next is the slide that you will see. Put this one.
May I be your slide person?
Oh my God, I would love that. Thank you. That would be amazing. What's your name?
I'm Hari. Nice to meet you.
Hari, nice to meet you. Thank you, Hari. Go, Hari. Yeah, so this is a weaving from that series, just kind of a closer up view. Yeah, so I've been working with this idea for quite a while, the modern girl. So in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Japan was undergoing a conscious effort to modernize and nationalize. It was following models set out by existing world powers, namely the US and European nations like France and Germany and Russia as well. This modernizing was done across many levels of society, including in arts and literature, policymaking, architecture, and systems of production. There was a lot of attention toward old traditional ways of life as compared to new Western ways of life. So the modern girl arose in the 1920s as a media trope that was accusing young Japanese women of copying European and American fashion trends and ideologies. Much of the imagery I use in my weavings plays on the idea of the modern girl, and the Shiseido ads that I use in my weavings are often publishing a kind of fantasy of bridging the East with the West. Within the modern girl dynamic, Japanese women are secondary copies of Western originals. At the same time, they can take on Western traits through fashion, consuming cultural objects, and through performance. Thank you. Yeah, so this is a closer up, I guess, image of another weaving in the same series. Yeah, so thinking about the idea of copying and originality also, in the art world, I think originality is kind of like a foundational idea. Like we take it for granted that a painting will cost much more than an image of the same painting, for example. And even within printmaking, where it's often possible to create nearly endless copies of the same image, we make limited editions to give importance and value to a select few pieces. So when we write art history, we try to trace back to a single artist, sometimes a single piece of art, as the origin of a broader movement. So I'm kind of painting very broad strokes about Western art history, but just to give the context. Yeah, in much of Western art history, white men have been the only people to be considered as making original and important pieces of art. So authorship, originality, and creativity then are historically male. So in my practice, I'm taking on the position of the copier, the reader, and highlighting creative power in appropriating existing works. Thank you, Hari. Okay, so this is part of a new series of works that's currently showing at Monica Reyes Gallery in Vancouver. The show, titled I Have Forgotten My Umbrella, was curated by Kathy Slade and features works by myself, A. Branch, and Vittoria Montero. It's not work that I submitted for this prize, but it continues on the research of the previous weavings, so I kind of thought I'd talk about it here. The imagery is similar. It's my face mixed with the Shiseido ads, but each of these new weavings focuses on a single text. This one is titled, "As If Direct Vision Oriented Its Language Wrongly," which is a phrase taken from Roland Barthes' book, Camera Lucida. I pulled this phrase from a passage about punctum, or the idea that details accidentally captured within a photograph reach out to prick us. Barthes states that the punctum stays with us in memory, that remembering is sometimes a more direct way of knowing than seeing. The text in this weaving also features the same passage. So it's in the title and in the text that you can see that's been woven in. So I'm exploring what happens when all these disparate elements come together. I'm asking the question, like, what happens when we read Barthes through images of the modern girl? And what about when we read the modern girl through Barthes? Yeah, next slide, please. Thank you. This one is part of the same series. It's called "Perhaps They Were So Convinced of What They Were that they began to look the part." I took this title from Izumi Suzuki's sci-fi short story Night Picnic, in which monsters learn about humanity through cultural artifacts like pop culture, archival videos, newspapers, and things like that. They read and learn from these artifacts so effectively that they take on the appearance and the behaviors of humans. So there's an emphasis on gender roles in the story. A sister was once a brother until she read up on girlhood and transformed herself. So I'm interested in that act of like encountering cultural artifacts and transforming oneself through that encounter and through reading and viewership. Yeah, as a transition into my next work, I should mention that an ongoing interest of mine is legibility in text. So part of what the weavings do is democratize legibility and visibility in the source materials. Each element in the weaving gets the same amount of visibility as the other elements, and each element is just as obscured as the others. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a different work. It's called "Vision Dissolves Skin of the Film." I read a chapter of Laura Marks's book, Skin of the Film, which is about the ways that intercultural or diasporic artists employ film and video to evoke the sense of touch. Marks writes about sight as mastering, while the sense of touch calls for a more partial and intimate relationship with the world around us. So I'm concerned about the ways that photography, film, and video have been used to make marginalized people visible through dominant Eurocentric ideologies and logics. So what I've done is recombined phrases from Marx's book into a poem. So you can kind of like read the letters, I guess, and it makes a poem. So the way that I made this is I spelled out that poem onto a flatbed scanner with my fingers. So it's just a home scanner. You open the top and there's this sensor that drags across and captures an image of the things that touch the surface. So I've traced my finger in time with the sensor to create an alphabet and then reorganized those letters into the poem. So on the one hand, my skin is highly visible, but on the other, you can't glean much about me through this image. Like, it would be pretty hard to like make a narrative about who I am, what kind of person I am through this image, I think. And at the same time, the text itself is also resisting legibility. Okay, last slide. Thank you. Sweet, so this is just a close-up of the same work. I'm thinking about how the scanner can't capture objects that sit more than a few millimeters from its surface. So it can only make images of things that touch it or that it touches. It's kind of a powerless camera technology because all we have to do to not appear within an image is to step away. The scanner is sensitive to changing light conditions, and unlike most cameras, I have very little power to change the amount of light coming in. So the scanner is also embedding its mechanisms into each image that I order it to capture. So there's kind of a back and forth with power. Yeah, that's everything. Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, sweet. Yeah. Thank you.
And how big are the pieces?
Each of these is 40 inches by 30 inches. If we go back to one of the weavings, so this one, yeah, these ones are a bit smaller than the earlier ones I made. These ones I think they're like 20 inches by 25 inches maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Quite big.
Now you saw I agree about the copy of the, let's just say, for in easy terms, the post-war copying of the pinup girl from, the States or the European. So, and, they adopted those idioms, and then they, through anime in a sense, has twisted it in their own little nuances, and I'm seeing now that bleeding back into the white dominant culture. Do you also see that? Do you see it now commingling and blurring of those lines, or is it just more of maybe a modification of the same, or are they gaining any of their own unique identity from these modifications?
Do you mean like Japanese
Yes,
folks?
yes.
I think there's always like huge differences across cultures.
Yeah.
So it's not, I guess when I say copy, I don't mean to like reduce Japanese people into like actually copies of I guess Western forms of being.
Yeah.
I think it's not that at all. I think it was just I think my understanding of it is just that I think it was a time where the nation as a thing was kind of coming into being more and more, and so it became more imperative, like as the world was globalizing, also that that there was a sense of like nationhood, so that these people could then participate in the forms of trade and things like that were happening. But yeah, part of it was definitely just that there was this trope in media that kind of pointed toward young women and said, oh, you're copying this or that or the other.
Mm-hmm. I guess because I walked in and I walked into a restaurant. It was in a tea party, and it was there was 40 girls dressed in Lolita, which not Lolita doesn't mean to that culture the sexual young girl. It means a way of dressing in a frilly dress that has originated in Western society, moved to Japan, got morphed in that culture, and then now has come back because most of the girls I was looking at were white girls dressed in Lolita gear. So it was just a very interesting, and then I saw this. So
Yeah.
You see this sharing of back and forth now, where these girls, if I told them what you just said, they wouldn't have understood the origin of it. Right?
Yeah, I guess there's definitely, I definitely see like I grew up here, and I definitely see like a cultural fascination with like East Asia, for sure. Yeah.
Sena, how about the weaving? How long does the weaving take? Once you have the materials, the strips all decided and printed and cut.
Yeah, I think a lot of the work of like, I guess not to separate creative labor from not creative labor, but like the work of like deciding how things are going to fit together happens for me before the weaving itself. So when I'm weaving, I just kind of like plug in music or a podcast or whatever and go at it for 3 or 4 hours, and usually it takes about that long. Yeah.
I was wondering if you might read one of those poems, because I have like this advantage of sitting there like, oh my God.
Oh, you can.
Is there any chance you would read?
Yeah, I can read it out loud. Yeah. Let me bring the image up for myself. Okay. So it says, if the image became too full for seeing, it might spill into other senses, might fill its new gaps with me, might leak onto me while I leak onto it, might pull me to the surface of myself. Then I could body forth, not to know it, but to see as if for the first time with the skin of my eyes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just wondering because you have you own more than one country tradition by birth. So did you actually learn the Japanese classic way of painting, and do you include that in skills?
Yeah, no, I don't know any Japanese traditional arts. I'm trying to learn this thing called temari. It's like a type of, it's a craft where you cover like a ball. You make a ball out of string, and then you kind of cover it in thinner string, and you make like decorative kind of geometrical elements on them. So there's that, but it's not sort of within my like public art practice per se. It's just something I do for myself and for my friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say that knowing a good question, because that knowing what the text is in there, wow, that's a very powerful piece. Just with your finger and super cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you.
And now we're going to move on to our nonfiction, the nonfiction medium, which is named after Susan Crean, the award is. And I'm going to invite Lifelong Lee to, oh no, hold on, have a
Should we turn the lights on?
Yes, good idea. Let me get that. Yeah,
Oh, there's Claire.
I'm gonna.
Hello.
Hello, Claire.
Hi.
Hold on,
Hello.
Claire. I'm just gonna invite our lifelong Leon to present the honorable mentions and other awards before we get to you.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
come on over. I've lifelong.
No way.
No, you're okay.
Okay.
Come on over here.
Okay.
This is for you. Thank you for
Oh,
being an
thank you.
advisor
Hello.
for the Surrey Muse Awards.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
You can, if you just wait 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
So in Susan Crean Award for Nonfiction, we'll begin with the honorable mentions.
Okay.
So we have Veronica Gorlova from Vancouver, BC. She's right there. Woo! Thank you. Thank you so much. And then we have also Diary Murray, who's also here. Thank you so much. I feel a little smudge on this. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And we also have Celie Quest, who's in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Thank you. Then we have Dorothy Palmer from Burlington, Ontario, as the third place winner of Susan Crean Award Nonfiction. We're running out of space. Yeah, I'll clear up the table. And then we have second place winner, Marianne Dodds, right there. Thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody got a good photo there? Whoops, get it from the center. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And then we have first place winner Claire Lawrence, who's in Port Moody, BC, and she will be, well, there she is. Now, I'm just going to do a little brief bio for Claire to get her started. Thank you so much. Keep your...
Can you see this? You can't see. I know what I know. Thank you
All right, so to introduce, where have I ended up here? There. Claire Lawrence is a storyteller and mixed media visual artist based in BC. Her stories have appeared in publications worldwide and in BBC Radio. In Canada, she has been published in JICE, Pulp Literature, and shortlisted for the Federation of BC Writers 2022 contest. Claire's work was nominated for the Prichard Prize. Claire's art has been accepted by many magazines. She was nominated for Best Artwork for Best on the Net 2021. Her goal is to create and publish in all genres and not inhale too many fumes. Excellent. Please welcome Claire Lawrence. Claire, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yeah.
We're ready for you. Please share some of your work with us.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and thank you to the Surrey Muse Art and Literature Awards and Society for today, and thank you to the judges and jurors for choosing story. You had many wonderful stories to choose from. I will be reading from my nonfiction story called My Mother's Ghost. Sorry, I'm getting feedback from you. So it's about growing up and with a father who is going into a mental asylum and my mother's death. And of course, I felt like I was responsible for it, her death. Prior to reading this, I need to let you know that I am dyslexic and I may stumble over words, and I beg your forgiveness.
That was wrong.
Okay? Okay. My mother's ghost. I was a robust 12-year-old girl, crunching a mouthful of whole cinnamon hearts, which burnt my gums and turned my tongue and teeth a scarlet. I pulled on my mother's Marks and Spencer's peach front-hooked satin elastic girdle. The inside had yellow sweat stains, but the outside belly apron was silky and quilted. It was wonderful to touch. I marveled at the mechanics of suspender belts and played with the clips that held stockings. Mum also had a string of plastic rainbow beads. I had them on, and they dangled over her white cotton bullet bra, which puckered and drooped on my chest. It was July 1974, and I was rummaging through my parents' closet, searching for loose change in lint-filled jacket pockets and old purses. And I was snooping. I found Dad's poems and an odd document titled M. At the back of the closet, which smelled of Mum's Lily of the Valley talcum powder, I discovered a shoebox. I called it the God Box. Opening the lid, I pulled out rosary beads, a copper cross turned green, a crumpled ditto page of the Gospel from Presbyterian Church, an unopened Lutheran prayer book, and a fistful of customized tea bags with tags of St. George's Shield. Mum must have pinched them after a service, but then couldn't bring herself to make a cup of Anglican tea. Mum was a serial spiritual seeker. She was lonely and wanted to be part of an exclusive club that offered free babysitting, sandwiches, and salvation. In retrospect, I think she was preparing for her exit. She swore she could see auras. Mum was 1 month away from having my dad
committed to the Royal Ottawa Mental Hospital, 4 months away from going into a diabetic coma and surviving, but then 8 months away from death. She died on my father's birthday. When she died, I was consumed by guilt. I could have saved her. For 3 nights following her death, my mother's ghost visited me. She stood at the bottom of my bed. Of course she visited. I was the one that killed her. I begin on the day my mom was spiritually found. I remember the day because my brother and I had been nagging her to get help. We had become Saturday morning doctors thanks to recurring public service messages about the signs and symptoms of diabetes. The music was dramatic, and a man's stern voice would narrate the warnings. We witnessed a young woman getting up from a kitchen table and feeling dizzy, rubbing the bleariness from her eyes, then guzzling glasses of water. On the day we gave Mom her diagnosis, she was dressed in a thin blue flannel nightie, and her mouse brown hair was in a bun. She was standing in front of a window, streaming with golden morning light. Mom's nightie didn't hide anything, sagging breasts and rippled thighs, and something else. I didn't know what was around her waist or poking between her legs like a tail. Now I know it was a maternity belt with an enormous menstrual pad slung between her thighs. I would be wearing one of these contraptions in the following weeks. My sexual health education can be summed up in a sentence. You're not dying. You get this so you can have a baby. My very English mother didn't explain the facts of life. I had to learn it from hearsay or for catching glimpses of Playboy at the corner store. After my brother and I nattered on about diabetes, my mother got quite upset. She went to her bedroom and slammed the door. It wasn't long after that the doorbell rang. My brother and I ignored it. When the doorbell rang again, my mother appeared hastily dressed. She had a cigarette hanging from her lips when she opened the door to God. It was the Jehovah's Witnesses. They captured my mother's imagination, and she invited them into her home. The older women, dressed in black, offered my mother a list of goodies: home Bible study, a driver to Kingdom Hall, potluck lunches, and an exclusive seat beside Jesus in heaven, based on a lottery where only 144,000 would be chosen. My mother was a gambler, and she liked her odds. The JWs became regular visitors. My father wasn't happy. He didn't like strangers in the house telling him he was facing his last days. Armageddon was nigh, the witnesses warned, and if he didn't convert, his soul would be tormented for 1,000 years. Dad, a budding delusional depressive, told them his energy was rooted in the earth and showed them a trail of magical flower in the garden. He also claimed his co-workers were spiking his coffee with LSD, and the letter M had great meaning to the development of the universe. The JWs said they would pray for his soul. A month later, Mom had Dad admitted to the Royal Ottawa Mental Hospital. Dad was placed on a ward for chronic schizophrenics. I visited him with my mom. She didn't want to go alone and was too embarrassed or ashamed to ask the JW to join her. We met him in a common room with caged windows. He told us there weren't any beds available for people with clinical depression, so he was locked up with the crazy people. Dad looked awful. He was in his own clothes, but they were mismatched. A bright printed shirt tucked into plaid bell-bottoms. No belts were permitted. Dad's black-brown hair was unkempt, and his eyes were dull from being heavily medicated. While they talked, I wandered off to the nursing station. I had spotted some hard candies sitting in a bowl. The person at the counter was wearing a colorful blocked mini dress with a large white lapel. Her face was wrinkled, and the lipstick looked cat-scratched. The woman said she was the head nurse. I didn't believe her. She pulled out a smoke and asked how she could help. Shy, I turned to retreat, but she pushed the sweet bowl towards me. I thanked her and tried to take one of the shiny mints. It was glommed to the sticky mass in the bowl. Now I was stuck to it. I struggled to remove my fingers. The nurse howled with laughter. Gets people every time. Humiliated, I shook off the bowl and ran. I didn't get far. I was grabbed by a woman who claimed she had little baby Jesus in her stomach. I broke from her grip only to be met by a bald man who claimed he had an octopus coming out of his head. He yelled there were monsters hiding in the walls and under the sidewalk. Crying and in panic, I bolted around him and ran to my mother, who was searching for me. We left the dreadful ward, which smelled of piss and smoke, and never went back. My father was kept in the madhouse over the summer. In the meantime, my mother returned to full-time work as a transcriptionist in a radiologist's office. She was away all day, but left us a can of soup, a loaf of white bread, and a bottle of orange processed cheese bread. My friends and I mucked about the neighborhood, searching for empty bottles, and riding our banana bikes to the corner store to buy string licorice, wax lips, gummies, and gumballs. Mum was still in denial about her diabetes, even though she was losing weight and guzzling jugs of water. Dad was released from the mental hospital at the end of August. He moved into an apartment filled with garage sale furniture. I remember the dingy flat with walnut floors, cracked white walls, and a bed in the center of the room. He was still unwell and put our family in debt by purchasing an extravagant gold wristwatch and his designer outfit, a too-tight front-zipped brown jumpsuit with an attached gold buckle. The collar was enormous, as were the bell-bottoms. At age 45, Dad was in the thralls of a midlife crisis. September. School was set to begin. I warned my brother, who was going to grade 2, not to say a word about Dad being in the loony bin, or he'd get beaten up by the kids in grade 6. My brother couldn't keep our dirty laundry to himself. He waved it about at recess and ended up with a fat lip. My mother was happy working, but she was struggling with her health. A couple of weeks before Halloween, she went into diabetic coma. It was my sister, 7 years my senior, who found my mother unconscious in bed. An ambulance was called. Dad gave up his apartment and came home for good. Mum spent a week in the hospital. The Jehovah's Witnesses made daily visits to her bed. She had a community that cared. I remember going to the hospital and giving Mum a small bag of green grapes. I bought them myself. My mum cried over the brown bag. She never cried. I thought I'd done something wrong. I know now that she was touched, that she knew I loved her. My mum was diagnosed with type 1 insulin-dependent diabetes. She required 2 to 4 shots of injections a day, depending on her sugar levels, and she needed help giving those shots. My father and sister refused to help. Seeing myself as a nurse, which I later became, I volunteered to push Mum's flabby arm forward and rub alcohol on the site of injection. Soon I'd be doing the shots. Since Mum wasn't well enough to go to work or attend Kingdom Hall, a prayer group came to our house. Mum begged my sister not to play the Satanic Beatles during their sessions. You can't tell a teenage girl to stop playing Let It Be. Dad defiantly burned the Black Tower pamphlets in the fireplace while the prayer group was in session. The group carried on unfazed. I think my family's intolerant behavior made Mum cling harder to her beliefs. The JWs don't believe in birthdays, Christmas, standing for the national anthem, and blood transfusions. Mum told us we could save a load of money if we all converted. My brother, sister, and I howled. Dad was outraged. He wasn't going to give up Christmas cake. A compromise was struck. We could have our celebrations. We wouldn't observe my mother's birthday or make her Christmas projects at school. The lack of acknowledgement helped erase her from existence. Mum returned to work about the same time as Dad. Things seemed to be settling down. March began with snow. We shoveled it it was an ordinary day until it wasn't. On March 5th, 1975, Mum collapsed at work. Would you like me to stop here? Hello?
Hi. No, keep going.
Hello? Oh.
Hi, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Claire?
No, turn the microphone on.
to know what's happening.
Text her quick.
Oh, was it cut off? We can hear. Okay. Should I continue? Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm not getting any feedback and I can't hear you, so I don't know. I can't recall saying goodbye when I went off to school. I probably did. Maybe she had left for work early. I don't know. I do know that I was in class when Mrs. Clark, my teacher, got a phone call. She walked over to my desk and told me to pack up and gather my brother. There's been a terrible accident. Okay. Should I stop now?
Can you hear us?
I'm sorry, I'm not getting anything, so I don't know what's happening. Okay, I'll continue until something happens. A terrible accident has happened. I thought my dad had died. I was upset, but not hysterical. My brother and I got home around the same time as my sister. She was in high school and filled us in. They clapped, okay. I got home around the same, she was in high school and filled us in. My mother had been found on the bathroom floor at work. The staff thought she was having a sugar problem and tried to force feed her a banana. In reality, my mother had had a brain aneurysm and a ballooned blood vessel burst in her head. Mom underwent surgery to repair the vessel and relieve the pressure in her head. The surgery took 5 hours. Mom was placed in intensive care. While Mom was in hospital, my brother, sister, and I... Oh, okay, I'll stop. Thank you.
I'm going to invite Cicely Nicholson to speak about her experience as a judge, and I do have a lovely notebook for her. She was a judge for Vera Manuel Award for Poetry, Poetess, Cicely Nicholson. Come on.
Hoots and hollers. Thanks, everyone. Let me just say I'm absolutely delighted to be a part of the inaugural Surrey Muse Art Society Awards. Wonderful. And I'm grateful to be here on these territories, the traditional and ancestral territories of the Semiahmoo, of the Kwantlen, the Katzie people, and my understanding, I think, some of the traditional waterways of the Stalo, and other relations that are so old. It's a privilege to speak. And I think a privilege to take up an award, to hand out and make a decision about an award named for Vera Manuel. Vera is a Secwepemc, or was a Secwepemc and Kutsinaksa, Indigenous woman, playwright, dramatist, and poet. And the daughter of Marceline Paul and George Manuel. So an incredible family. And a legacy that spans land-based defense, poetics, theater, all of this. And so, yeah, it just feels very special to be a part of this conversation. I think, and just in the spirit of Vera's work, thinking through the weight and the possibilities of literature is something that I'm left reflecting on after reading such a substantial body of entries into this contest. And so I'm going to pause for a moment and say thank you to Malcolm and Van Delst. I've never said your name out loud, so I hope that's it. We made our way through about 80 submissions. Yeah, a lot. And I've had the good fortune of being a juror in a number of different prizes through the years, and typically, like that's an unusual amount actually for poetry. So a really extraordinary body of work spanning a big area, like coming from across the country. I had no idea. And so hilariously, to find out that I've chosen, and part of our decision making that in our top 3, and I know Cynthia's here tonight, so I'm so excited, or this afternoon. But to find out that Hari Alluri and Kyle McKillop was 2 of the people that were selected, I'm embarrassed because I've known them for years, but truly their work shone. But I would say just in generally that the caliber of the poetry coming through Surrey was extraordinary. It was such a hard decision. And the decisions that got made were just like the weight of the work and the topics that you took up. It wasn't just the craft and the concise work and the precision. And because, I think Malcolm can agree, like that was something that was in a lot of entries. There's a lot of really polished work. But I think it was just the weight and the meaning, the content that you took up and the storytelling that you were able to unfold. And just my heart was just in all of those selections. So just so honored. I'm not sure if I have much more to say other than I'm really delighted to meet Cynthia in particular, the one, and our honorable mention folks. I'm not sure if there's folks who are here today. I'm just delighted to make your acquaintance and to continue to see you out in the world of poetry, because that's one of the things, poets, we don't do it for the money. And a big part of what we do it for, like speaking for myself anyway, is community and connection, communication, and for the art. And absolutely to understand poetry in the context of a series of awards celebrating contemporary art is meaningful as well. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say other than thank you again. Do I get to hand out these awards? They're so beautiful. I'd love to be able to and I get a book. Thank you.
I know it's fine print.
Beautiful. Oh, it's got my name on it.
That's right.
Aww.
And it says judge for the poetry section.
I'm really, it's just so impressive, this work, hey? The sort of, from the banner to the, I know. Somebody's behind all of this.
That's right.
Yeah, seriously.
And because of Michael, we got it affordable rates on all this material.
Cheers for affordable rates.
And we pressed it ourselves. Free labor.
I've just never seen it. It's just lovely. So yeah. So anyway, enough about me.
I know, it's like a treat just to be able to do this. Like you said, artists do things for the community. I so needed to hear everything you said. I felt so good.
Well, we appreciate you.
Oh. All right, so let's hand out. We were going to take a little break, but let's hand out all the awards first, and then after we'll take the break and then hear from Hari. Just so, or would you like it that? Would you be able to wait? Because you've got a toothache.
Well, I'm also worried about other people's pains and aches, so maybe we can hear from Hari, and then I don't know what works. I'm staying.
It won't take long to hand out these lovely awards.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do poetry. Arms and bent. Just hand out. Okay. All right, so in poetry, our honorable mentions, Hia Sheikh, and I'll tell you where from. From Scarborough, Ontario. Ooh, I hail from there.
Is there a camera?
Well, our camera died.
Oh, okay.
It's over there. It's just.
No sweat.
And then we have Amir Lafon, who is from Nelson, BC.
Very cool.
And we have Franz Seashell, also from Vancouver, BC. Honorable mention.
Franz Seashell.
And then Kyle McKillop was the 3rd place winner.
Who could not be here today, but was so thrilled. Yeah.
Oh, and anybody that's here, like you, Sena, don't forget to get these for the stamp and the box.
Oh, perfect.
And there's Cynthia Sharp, 2nd
Cynthia.
place.
Congratulations, a double winner.
Yeah. You're beautiful. Okay, good. And then we got 1st place winner. He said, hurry, Alluri.
My beautiful friend.
Woo, let me get this.
I thought that's what I was. One reader was laughing, but like she was really
Oh, those are for long ones. Okay, yeah, short.
We knew you would. It's okay, stop. It's okay.
You know I was here. I'm taking a chair.
I'm ready to start, people. You're welcome to take your snacks with you to the seat. Don't have to wrap up quickly or anything. So we've just got a little bit to go. I'm going to introduce Hari Alluri, who, if you recall, was the first place winner in poetry. And then we'll continue to music, which is the only piece left. And if there's any more judges here that we can hear from, and if anyone that's long listed is here, please let me know so I can give you your little award too. Okay, so Hari Alluri, he, him, Shah, is a migrant poet of Filipinx and South Indian descent on unceded Coast Salish territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, and Kwantlen, Kadsi, and Coquitlam lands of the, Hari, how do you pronounce that? Thank you, speaking peoples, Hunkanemam. He is author of The Flayed City, which you can buy here, and Carving Ashes as well, and chapbooks The Promise of Rust, and Our Echo of Sudden Mercy. Writer-director of Pasalubong, Gifts from the Journey, co-editor of We Were Not Alone, and co-founding editor at Locked Horn Press. Shah has received grants, fellowships, and residencies from the BC Arts Council, Canada Council for the Arts, the Capilano Review, Deer Lake, Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing, Vona Voices, and others. His work appears through these venues and elsewhere: Apogee, Burnaby Art Gallery, Marias at Sampaguitas, Poetry Prism International, and via Split This Rock Best of the Net 2022. And you can check out his work at harialluri.com. Please, welcome, Hari. Leave that here for you. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Hari. It's nice to be here with everybody. I was nervous as fuck this morning, so I did what grounds me a little bit, and I just was working on revising a poem, and that just helped me a little bit. I just wanted to shout out poetry itself, because the act of making keeps me going. I am super grateful for everybody who is here, and I've got a little bit. I'm going to say a few things if it's okay. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin by quoting back some of the folks who spoke before, because all the awardees, all the folks who spoke, Surrey Muse, who brought us here together, Fazia, Miriam, everybody, Michael holding us down, I'm waving to folks back here. In the meantime, silky and quilted, old stories under the skin, small as an acorn, one of those territories I carry with me, a warning with shadow, waiting. Humanity. Vision dissolves diasporic, the artist, monsters learn about together. The reader, the reappropriator, and misbehaving. Weaving them, resembling a whole jumbled future, energetic beings. Translated, my time is now, but my painting is for all of us in between and all the work that brings us here. I want to Surrey Muse was the first place that I experienced a love for poetry, where we were watching projected on a wall in a library, this one. Kulthum was singing a Fez Ahmed Fez ghazal, and the crowd was clapping and yelling va 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 at the screen, and that grounded me in. Shout out Cecily, all the selection team, all the awardees. Shout out to 2 kids from Minian and Gattu who are over there, who, if they never got together and never spent the next rest of their lives until now and ongoing, teaching me, my sister, and folks around them about love, I wouldn't be here. And because they introduced me to stories and to music, from prayer songs to Prince, which is to say, to poetry itself. And to Jule and Tala, in whose company I'm trying to learn more deeply the poetry of daily living. I want to dedicate this to a kid who grew up in Surrey, who we lost last year, but who stays with us. DJ Wondercut Eric Cardeno. The truth is that only when he passed did I really understand the poetry of how he lived and approached art. So if you guys would do me a favor, and I'm gonna take a picture of you. If you'd throw up a W like that, I'm gonna take a picture of all of you for me and for Eric. Please, a W if you would. Thank you. Let me back up even more. Thank you so much. Y'all are beautiful. When I say bend, hey, it's just me. Moving shadows around in the kitchen before daylight, wary of the elements lurking. Library at the beginning of time and owlberries and sand, nothing quite that large. Just the brightness of this phone, me trying not to wave it onto my friend's eyes, closed on the nearby couch, the shadow bending part. Stovetops, olive oil bottle and dirty dishes, curve in the kitchen tap, then inside the cupboard as I put the drying rack vessels away between me and my special cup. Among this, see no helix, doubled, spiral dark at base of skull, at back of neck, reaching back to the darkness before darkness. All absorption, everything, all shine. Do see, Lolo in Minian, Auntie when the city answered to Bombay. Everything has changed and it's not that different. Between ambushes and partitions, rambutan, guava, tamarind, another bend. Matches and candles or kerosene lanterns. Everyone in brownout country memorizes how to get to where our fingers on the light. Everything has changed, but the shadows still move around like I first remember. When I say phones and flashlights, I don't mean in those 2 abodes. I wasn't there by then. When I was, Lolo, his arms I thought were giant, me perched up small in them, too young to follow anything but shadows. I don't even know if it was love song or war song putting me back to sleep, only this part, that he didn't sing it to Nanai when she was young, and this only from her years later. The grammars bent out of my tongue, the ones inflected in my sidewalk step, a body oversaturate, susceptible to being grammared, immigrant neighborhood martial arts, the boom out of a vehicle announcing the imminent jump, the spilling out of a pool hall, 40 would-be cousins, maybe more, the chase, the duck, the gun drip in my bhaya's mouth, the uniform behind it, the sirens calibrated for our bodies, if we laugh while rolling deep, the taste of pavement too close to belonging. Cricket bat waving around the mall for me. When I visit today, I'll think how much it hurt my nanay to walk in, recognize the words but not the way her tatay sang them. In the second early memory, Auntie's mango pickle. Whichever parts entailed at 4 a.m., whether or not she's asking me why I'm awake, whether or not there'll be time for Uncle to teach me to cook his upma before we have to run to catch our flight. I'm just following the shadows, all of which are above me except mine. This part is likely error. Singular, how can be? Don't you want, people to be happy? I remember Popsy asking me as I mouth the coffee cup, my morning ritual to accept. What's me? The other side, it's calling. An itch in the blood that won't be scratched, a tickle stuck like pebble in shoe, withdrawal from the only thing resembles home. Give us restoration in the everyday. Even for the type of child who didn't ask for live. Also this, the family stories in places where they can't be boiled down. Peacock flight from city packs at dawn. Stray dog jitter in my jaw, tobacco for perfume. Balancing on railroad tracks, they're cut into the land. Whose blood? Which land? What it is to see the mountains from the block and not believe them. Beautiful is distortion in the 6x9s, that part, not for you, that knowing, this, not reaching, what I trust, missingness in a failed translation, the only where I'm from. Shadow bend, I'm sorry what I've learned. Listen the ground whose language I don't speak, its blood. Listen the tree who knows what it took to still be here. In every day, the pungency whispering in my nose crosses ocean, crosses time. Here now, just the facts. Auntie's mango pickle was the best. And I'm sorry, you will never taste it. So much of our longing does not belong to us. Thank you. Shout out Joanne Arnott, by the way, who's in the house. Hold on. Oh yeah. Questions, jokes, comments, iterations, declarations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many ways. One way is what I did for the beginning part of what we had here, where I'm just listening for language and powerful moments in the world that speak to me. Another way that's more similar to that is trying my best to pay attention to the world. Eric Cardeno, wonder cuts the keys to doors between the worlds. So I'm listening and watching the world for what it wants to say, I hope. I believe that poems are beings that exist on the other side and are like just looking for someone to like let them through. And so I am, in my revision process, I literally am like, what do you want? Like, what do you want from me? How do I get out of your way? How much more of me do you want here? You know? I found a lot of kinship with that, with the process of like self-portrait, but like pulled apart and put back together. And I think that's part of what I do. So some of it is that, and then sometimes when I've like written and processed and pulled cards and thought and like just been engaging in daily life, every so often something will come through like all the way through. And so this one is a combination of something that wanted to come through all the way through, and with another piece that I had like collaged from moments of my own like response to different things. Like a few conversations I'd had like led me to, I don't know, write like 15 pages of shit and like go back and look at them and pull a few of those. And so those were waiting. And I mean, so in the beginning of this one, there's like a reference to the library at the beginning of time, and like a library that like holds a history of war. And that's a reference to like Avatar: The Last Airbender, when they visit the spirit that buries the library in sand, you know? So like pop culture, listening, responding, and then just like over and over being like, what do you want? How do I get out of your way? You know? Archetypes can be dangerous, but one of the ones I love is like the bridge, because the bridge is between two like crevices. And in like so many pop cultural moments, we see like a bridge as a place where like becomes an obstacle, you know? And so I'm trying to make myself less of an obstacle on the bridge, if possible. That'd be my short version. Hi.
Just funny that he's talking about bridges and being an obstacle. I just love it. It's beautiful. I love how you describe getting out of the way and poetry actually being getting shivers. And another thing is, you're talking about you getting out of the way, and I'm sitting here watching you thinking, you have such presence, like, and everything you like, and it comes through in your words and your poetry, but just in the way you present it and stuff. But you're actually, and but you're just the process you're describing is almost trying to remove your presence, and I don't know, but you have such presence. Wonderful.
Thank you.
May I comment on that?
Sure.
You're touching me deeply here, because the book I gave this lovely lady is actually called Travels to the House of Invention. And Norval had the exact same philosophy, that when he slept, he went to this house of invention and he saw these images, and he was just a vessel when he came back down to earth to put them on. And he didn't need to remember them or didn't need to really understand them. He had to remove his self, his ego, and just become a vessel of the creation. And so it's very funny that you mentioned that creative process. It's the exact same thing.
Thank you.
I was thinking, Harry, that it may be that is your presence, by removing the ego part or whatever, the surface self. You're more present.
We try, Shah. We try. I'm like, yeah, I'm all, only can aspire, you know? Sometimes you just need shit in your teeth. And also to like, and so like, yeah, like I guess I just want to think about like the balance between getting out of the way of the poem as like a being that wants to exist, and how like, and also to like, the flip side is like to implicate myself at every moment, because I'm like, if I don't do that part, then I'll end up hiding something or putting that in the way of the poem, maybe. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop because I know Ben Search from music. He's been on rating on Skype for a while. He's on the East Coast.
Yeah.
It's getting late for him, because I know we could Q&A with you for another half hour.
Thanks, Paul.
Let's get him up, Michael. I'll do the bio while Ben Sears is there, and we'll introduce the other parts.
Getting you up here.
We'll introduce the rest of the folks in music after Ben is, yeah, that's it. After Ben performs.
Get you up on the screen here. Can you hear us? Oh, perfect.
I'm gonna introduce him first,
Okay.
so you know.
I'm going to introduce you. Put us on the screen, Miriam.
Just wait a moment.
Oh, no, come up. Okay.
All right, so Ben Sears, who is the first place winner of the Faith Nolan Award for Music. Let me introduce him. Ben Sears, and where is he coming from? Here we are, Edmonton, Alberta. Ben Sears is a guitar player who tells great stories in song. A performer with an instinct for humor and storytelling, Ben writes songs about everything from imaginary ray guns to sandwiches prepared by his father for him when he was a child visiting home over the weekends. Ben is immersed in the history of roots music, the old traditions informing his contemporary songwriters' music. His most recent album, The Story That Lived Here, was #1 for consecutive weeks on the CKUA radio chart and was in the top 10 of the National College charts in Canada. Ben is a winner of numerous international songwriting contests. He has performed across Canada in Beirut, Lebanon, and Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Ben is also the author of the children's book, The Boy Who Walked Backwards, published by the Manitoba First Nations Education Research Center. Visit Ben's website at benshores.com. And thank you for your patience.
I can see you clapping, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I apologize.
Chat.
I'll tell him.
So, just let me know when you want me to start.
No.
Can everybody hear me? Just wave your hands if you can hear me, because I can't hear you. Hello? Okay, so you can hear me, yes?
Yes.
So how about, I'm just gonna sing and play and talk and that'll be that. Let me just quickly say thank you very much. I was honored and privileged to win this award. Thank you to Surrey Muse Art and Literature Awards. And I also, it means a lot to win an award that is named after a person of such enduring convictions, Faith Nolan. So anyway, the two songs that I submitted are, one is called Cry Like a Flood, which is a story about a songwriter from Toronto, and I'm gonna start with that. And the second one is called Boring People. But I'll play this song first, and then I'll introduce the next song. So, just, is the sound okay?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Corner of a room, singing her song. Smile lines in her eyes from days gone. Men's on the coffee table, a wink and a sigh. If you could hear her sing, it would make you cry. And it's cry, cry, like a flood. Tears for all the years, flowing like blood. We are born and then we break and go back to the mud. Cry, cry, like a flood. She was headed to New York, a contract in her hand. The ticket was booked, but then the fate or something dealt its hand. Toronto bagel shop, a lunch for old times, studying the menu, trying to make up her mind. And it's cry, cry, like a flood. Tears for all the years, flowing like blood. We are born and then we break, and go back to the mud. Cry, cry, like a flood. down, learning to walk before she could run. She's lucky to be alive. It's not luck that she can sing. Her heart gave her that power more than anything. Through apartment walls, neighbors hear her song. Smile lines and rise, days long gone. Cry, cry, like a flood. Tears from all the years, flowing like blood. We are born and then we break. We go back to the mud. Cry, cry, like a flood. Thank you. Okay. So that was called Cry Like a Flood. It's quite funny, because the Skype camera isn't working, I'm watching myself sing to you. It's all just slightly delayed. And it's funny. I can see what Hari's having for lunch. Anyway, the next song, I'm just gonna quickly retune. The next song is called Boring People. And this kind of plays into what Hari was talking about. This was me trying to peel away any kind of fiction I made for myself through my life. It's like, this was my trying to look into the most honest mirror. And it also, Claire mentioned something about, or in Claire's introduction, about trying to avoid fumes. And there's a little story I tell when I perform this song. I say that it wasn't so much triggered by this, wasn't so much inspired so much as triggered by this event. I was walking down my street one day in Edmonton on a very hot day, and this guy had his Hummer running. Do you know what a Hummer is? It's kind of like a Jeep truck tank thing. Anyway, his Hummer was running, and he was standing on the boulevard smoking a cigarette, talking to two young women. And when I walked past him, I said, "Does your car need to run?" And he said, "No, but you do." So anyway, the combination of things led to this song. This is called Boring People. This is who I am, the body breaking, the troubled heart that can't get finished, that can't go on, that can't start. Not the best moves, the brightest, or the dumbest either. Not satisfied with satisfied, not into bliss and ether. Who are you? Who am I? Is there a difference when we try? Is there really a payoff? Are there just more things to fix? Are we just boring people that do boring things for kicks? Who are you? Who am I?
The library will be closing in 1 hour at 5 o'clock. New library cards will only be available today until 4:30 at the welcome desk on the first floor. Thank you.
This is who I was, the blind ambition, the vocal cracks, no eyes to my peers, deaf to all obvious facts. Not the best moves or the brightest, but when you're young, you're dumb. How else can you make mistakes? I could have listened to my mom. Who are you? Who are we? Is there a difference when we flee? Is there really a payoff? Are there just more things to fix? Are we just boring people that do boring things for kicks? Who are you? Who are we? She doesn't know, doesn't care, that's what she gives off. People that act hardest are very, very soft. To make the great reveal, to show the truest part, be to admit to being human and that you have a heart. So it's riding in the truck and blaring the horn. It's F-bombs, hockey, porn. It's the top of your lungs, singing riders in the storm. Who am I now? Who was I then? Is there a difference in the end? Is there really a payoff? Are there just more things to fix? Are we just boring people that do boring things for kicks? Who am I now? Who was I then? Thank you. Thank you very much. I can't really hear, but I can see you clapping. Lovely. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Surrey Muse Art and Literature Awards. Are there any questions? Maybe you could type them to me.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Michael, would you be the word processor? Anybody got questions, feedback?
I'm just going to smile and nod because I can't hear anything.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
What about that? Can you hear that, Ben?
Bye, everybody.
Aw.
Go up to this.
Here, let's go. Hold on, hurry. Got the back. I'm going to just announce the rest of the winners in music. Then I'm going to tell you about this art very briefly. And then is there any judges and jury members that I need to also have books for you guys, so we can't leave without that. All right, excellent. Well, Joanne, will you come back as our guest of honor and help give out the music awards? Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. There it is, the music awards. Let me get it for us. So honorable mentions, Haley, oh gosh. Yep, there it is. Haley Vera from Burlington, Ontario, honorable mention. Then we have Therese Goulet from Calgary, Alberta, honorable mention. Another Albertan in the category of music. Then we have Janelle Ray from Toronto, Ontario, as an honorable mention. And they're one of the contributors who won twice as well. Because here we go with the third place winner, and it's Janelle Ray from Toronto, Ontario. And Myrtle Thomas is from Montreal, Quebec. And she's a second place winner. Thank you. And we know about Ben. He's the first place winner who we just heard from. And yeah, all right. Thank you so much again. Joanne, I'll make this an excuse to give you another one. Okay, so I thought I'd just give you a little brief thing about the art. Oh, I know why I also thought of doing it. I was gonna do it right after poetry, Ben, but we need to get Ben on, so. Because I had a poem with regards to the woman. So this lady, I make a lot of ladies, women, and I've been doing it for a lot of years. And she was first drawn in like 2015, something like that, watercolor. And it's gone through different transformations, but this one's the closest to the original, the way it is. But I use my art that way. I re-articulate it into different times and contexts. And because all these images, they're drawings from the past, and I wanted to, they needed to continue to live and grow and change and whatever. So technology, you know, Photoshop made it so I could scan all of my old drawings, etchings, same with any of the other work like poetry and singing. It's all from things, fragments from the past. So I thought I'll read this little poem first called Inherited Memory about these women that I draw. They're always standing and cloaked like this or shawled. So Inherited Memory. She was married when she was 14, Amazonian figure that she had, to her middle-aged uncle as property for property. And often in the night, she must have looked to the river with her back turned, because over the years, I have drawn her as a silhouette slipping through the fingers of prismatic moonlight over a horizon that is wave upon wave, ocean deep. And the background image back here, it's from a bigger image, and actually that silhouette is me because I did a video with my friend Michael. I thought of this same shawled woman, but going through a stairway in an urban setting. So that video is what it is, but we affixed it, and I had still shots from that too. So even if that video never happened, that material gets re-articulated to different places, if I make a song, if I write a poem, or if we do awards, these are the ingredients that I have to choose from, or that I prefer to anyway. It's my material. It's connected to me, so it feels genuine to use it. And that's been affixed with another friend of mine, Enigma Curry, who I make music with too, but we have this game where he'll send something and I'll affix it, then I'll send it back, and then he'll affix it, and we just keep going. So I sent him a piece of the silhouette, and then he kaleidoscoped it, and then that's how we came up with that background. So that's a bit about the art, and I'm really pleased that we got to use it in this way. And now, that's it. We're going to move to judges and their comments. Okay. So, Hannah McCready, is she here though? No? Okay, how about, I've got a statement from Myrna Kostash that we could read first. She's a judge, the judge for Susan Crean Award for Nonfiction. And she sent a text. It was an honor to serve as a judge for the inaugural Susan Crean Award for Nonfiction, and a privilege to read all the entries. I share with my fellow jurors the pleasure of congratulating the 3 writers who particularly impressed us as craftspeople of the genre and with urgent messages for us: Claire Lawrence, Marianne Dodds, and Dorothy Palmer. I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person, but be assured I'm raising a toast, facing west to the Pacific, and quoting Margaret Atwood, a word after a word after a word is power. Thank you, Myrna. And we'll be mailing her notebook, because all the judges, jury members, are some patrons, advisors, they all get these chapbooks, or these little notebooks. And speaking of, we have Malcolm Van Delst here, and I'd like to present her book. And if she could, as Cecily mentioned, she was the jury member for poetry along with
Cecily, they went through all those lovely contributions. So come on up, I'll find your book. It's in here somewhere. Thank you so much. Oh, but Malcolm, do you want to share anything about your thoughts and the experiences as a jury member?
Well, I think Cicely captured most of it.
Yeah.
Harry is here. Is there anybody else here who submitted poetry? Oh, and Cynthia, sorry, Cynthia. You said you're excited. Yeah. Yeah, it was like she said, it was an incredible stuff to read, and there were so many good entries. It's really like, how do you choose?
Yeah, and she was saying that she didn't expect that much of in poetry and from the whole of Canada as well.
Yeah.
And to say that it did have the most entries, didn't it, before fiction?
Yeah.
So kudos to poets. All right, thank you so much. And is Heidi here? No, Heidi McKenzie is a jury member for Norval Morrisseau Award. And I've got notebooks for them too. Anyone else want to say anything before we wrap this up?
I just want to say one thing. So in 2006, we were at the National Gallery of Canada doing the first solo exhibition of an Indigenous artist. And the Minister of Culture and Arts came up to Norval and he said, "You've accomplished so much." And Norval said, "No, it's only been my hand and my name." And what he was referencing was all the people that added to it. So, you know, all the people that gave him a sandwich, gave him a warm place to sleep, all the curators, all the people. And then so this organization at this point in this I'm just so humbled to be here.
Thank you.
And we're all adding to something larger that is called art, that defines culture and society for time immortal. So really, an immense appreciation to all you people who put this together, because that's the blood and the veins of art. So I really appreciate you and everything that you did.
Well, that brings me to our project coordinator, who was also the jury member for the award for fiction, but I'd give you this chapbook. There's so many reasons to. Notebook, sorry, keep saying chapbook. Fazia, thank you for being our coordinator. For your vision, for your long view, for your strength.
Yes.
Oh,
Wait for the two of you to stand together. Can I take another photo of the two of you, please?
Yes, please. We're both not feeling photogenic these days, but you know.
Yes. Great work.
Give us a flowers.